All right, let's jump right into it. Welcome to today's Explainer Focused Learners. Today, we're decoding a high-frequency CELPIP topic that you absolutely need to master, the Canadian supermarket. Now, our goal today isn't just to memorize some vocabulary lists. No, we are going to strictly decode Canadian retail culture and tackle the most common CELPIP traps head-on. So get ready to elevate your score by mastering the everyday shopping scenarios that the examiners literally love to test.
Okay, let's dive into the roadmap for today's high-yield lesson. We'll start with Canadian cultural background, move into core vocabulary, then cover high-frequency exam scenarios. After that, we'll do some simulated practice, and wrap up with the core difficulties and traps that catch so many test takers off guard.
Section 1. Canadian Cultural and Linguistic Background. I want to emphasize something absolutely vital right out of the gate here. CELPIP tests your integration into Canadian life, not just your rote memorization of English grammar. If you don't understand how a Canadian supermarket actually works, you're going to miss crucial contextual clues. Your cultural understanding is your very first and, honestly, your most powerful test-taking tool. So let's walk through some everyday Canadian retail norms, because they consistently show up in listening and reading prompts. First up, bilingual packaging. Products in Canada display both English and French, which often leads to customer confusion scenarios in your listening tests. Then we have the whole imperial versus metric system situation. While Canada is officially metric, fresh produce is almost always sold in pounds just to make the price look lower. You might even be surprised to find milk sold in bags in some regions. But for the exam, you'll constantly hear cashiers ask about loyalty programs, things like Optimum or Scene Plus. Furthermore, basic groceries are actually tax-exempt, unlike hot, prepared meals. And finally, plastic bag bans mean customers must bring reusable bags, which is a highly probable topic for speaking task 6 or writing task 2.
Now, what's really interesting about this next slide is this uniquely North American retail concept that routinely confuses test takers. It's called the rain check. If an advertised sale item is completely out of stock, a customer can just go to customer service and request a rain check. Basically, it's a voucher that locks in that sale price for when the item eventually comes back in stock. Knowing this single word can literally be the difference between completely understanding a listening passage and being totally lost. Moving right along to Section 2, Core Vocabulary and Scenario Keywords. Let's transition to the essential vocabulary tools you need to survive these exam scenarios. You'll notice we are using a bilingual, English primary, Chinese supplementary approach for our visuals today. Use that Chinese text as a rapid mental bridge to lock in the meanings quickly, while we focus heavily on the English usage, the context, and the strategies. Let's map out the store layout. You'll likely hear directions involving produce for fresh fruits and vegetables and aisle for the specific walkways. You might hear something like, find canned soup in aisle 4. For transactions, self-checkout and barcode are massive keywords. A very common test prompt involves a self-checkout machine freezing when a barcode is scanned. You need to know exactly what those terms mean to resolve that situation confidently in a speaking or writing task. Over at Customer Service and Promotions, words like refund, exchange, and defective are your absolute bread and butter for complaint emails. But let's explicitly analyze the abbreviation BOGO. That stands for buy one, get one, and it's usually followed by free or half off. You will absolutely hear this in listening sections regarding store flyers. It's a rapid-fire cultural abbreviation you are just expected to know instantly. Now, failing to understand our next critical concept, substitution, will completely ruin your comprehension in writing and listening tasks. When you order groceries online in Canada and they don't have your exact brand of strawberries, the store shopper will pick a substitution, basically a similar alternative. This is the seed for so many complaint and dispute prompts on the test, so keep it in mind. Let's move to Section 3, High-Frequency Exam Scenarios and Predictions, and see how this isolated vocabulary builds into the actual high-pressure situations you'll face on the CELPIP. We can map out 4 highly probable scenarios directly tied to this supermarket theme. First up, customer service disputes, which frequently pop up in listening part 1 or speaking task 6. Think returning a spoiled item. Second, online grocery delivery issues, the absolute classic prompt for your writing task 1 complaint email. Third, community surveys, where you might debate a store going entirely plastic-free for writing task 2. And finally, giving directions for speaking task 2, where you must guide someone through those store aisles we just talked about. All right, Section 4, Simulated Practice and Tactical Analysis. We are now shifting into detective mode to break down real exam strategies and simulated questions step by step. Let's do this. For writing task 1, you might be asked to write an email complaining about a curbside pickup order. The strategy here is deeply tied to Canadian culture. You must be polite but firm. You should use carefully indirect complaint structures. You must strictly avoid aggressive language like, "Give me my money back right now." That will absolutely tank your score because it demonstrates a complete lack of cultural nuance. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly how you should sound. Listen to the pacing and objective tone of this Band 9+ sample extract. Secondly, the shopper authorized a substitution for the organic strawberries I ordered, replacing them with conventional ones that were bruised and overripe. Finally, the frozen pizzas had completely thawed. Notice the use of substitution, bruised, and the objective, polite delivery of the facts rather than angry demands? That is exactly how you deploy your hard vocabulary in perfect context.
Let's pivot to speaking task 3, describing a scene, which is very often a busy supermarket checkout. You only have 30 seconds of prep time. The trick here is to mentally partition the image rapidly into 3 main focus areas. From there, you want to seamlessly guide the examiner's ear using spatial prepositions like in the foreground, towards the back, and on the right-hand side. Combine those with action verbs. Don't just say the man is there. Say the customer is loading produce while the cashier is scanning a barcode.
Okay, let's try a simulated listening part 1 problem together. Imagine the audio features a customer at the service desk. The customer says they bought cheddar cheese, wanted to make sandwiches, but found mold on it, even though the expiry date says it's good until next month. The clerk apologizes and processes a refund. So why is the customer returning the cheese? Is it A, B, C, or D? Lock in your answer. Did you guess it? The correct answer is C. It has mold despite being within the expiration date. But let's dissect why A is such a massive distractor trap. The audio specifically mentions the words expiration date, right? But it explicitly says it is good until next month. The test designers are trying to trick you. Never pick an answer just because it contains the exact verbatim words you heard in the audio. You have to understand the full context. So the crucial point is Section 5, Core Difficulties and Traps. Understanding vocabulary just isn't enough if you fall for the test's psychological tricks. Let's look at the absolute hardest pitfalls in the exam. Trap number 1 is the polite refusal. In Canadian English, store employees rarely give a direct, flat no. They start with a super sweet, positive opening like, "I wish I could help you today." Test takers hear this and mistakenly think the request was approved. You have to spot the pivot word, like however or unfortunately, and recognize that this incredibly polite sentence is actually a firm rejection. Trap 2 involves number and pricing tricks. The listening audio will throw rapid-fire math at you. A clerk might quickly say, well, the regular price is $4.99, but with the flyer, it's on for $2.99, and if you buy 2, you get the second for half price. If you just try to hold all those numbers in your head, you will fail the question. The strategy here is mandatory. You need rapid, shorthand note-taking to track which specific price applies to the customer's actual situation. Slow down, breathe, and trust your notes. Well, we've covered a ton of ground today, from rain checks and substitutions to navigating the subtle traps of polite Canadian refusals. So I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. Are you simply translating words in your head, or are you ready to think, shop, and communicate like a true Canadian local? Embracing this cultural context is the ultimate key to acing the CELPIP. So review these strategies, practice those spatial prepositions, and go show those examiners you know exactly how to navigate the aisles.